There is a kind of woman who does not need to chase attention, demand respect, or constantly prove her worth. Her presence speaks before she says a word. She is calm without being cold, confident without being arrogant, kind without being a people pleaser, and strong without needing to dominate anyone. Becoming a high-value, mature woman is not about becoming perfect. It is about developing habits that create self-respect, emotional stability, discipline, and inner confidence. When a woman knows who she is, she stops depending on outside validation to feel valuable. In this video, we will explore 6 powerful habits that can transform the way you carry yourself, communicate, handle relationships, and respond to life. These habits are not about manipulating people into finding you irresistible. They are about becoming so grounded in yourself that your presence naturally commands respect. A mature woman understands that attention and respect are 2 completely different things. Attention can be temporary. It can come from curiosity, attraction, loneliness, or even someone simply wanting access to your energy. But self-respect is something you build within yourself. It is the quiet decision to never abandon your values just because you are afraid someone might leave. She does not chase people who constantly make her question where she stands. She does not beg for communication, affection, or reassurance. She understands that genuine connection should not require her to repeatedly prove why she deserves basic consideration. This does not mean she becomes cold or distant. She can be loving, caring, affectionate, and deeply compassionate. But her kindness has boundaries. She knows that being a good woman does not mean saying yes to everything. She knows that forgiveness does not require allowing the same person to hurt her repeatedly. When something feels disrespectful, she pays attention. When someone repeatedly crosses a boundary, she responds. And when a situation continues to damage her peace, she has the courage to step away. Her greatest strength is that she no longer measures her worth through other people's behavior. If someone ignores her, she does not immediately assume she is not enough. If someone rejects her, she does not spend months trying to prove her value. If someone chooses to walk away, she allows them to go without destroying herself trying to make them stay. She has learned that rejection is not always a reflection of her worth. Sometimes people simply are not capable of giving what she needs. This understanding changes everything. She stops asking, "What can I do to make them choose me?" and starts asking, "Is this person, environment, or situation worthy of my energy?" That is the foundation of self-respect. And when you genuinely respect yourself, you behave differently. You become more selective with your time. You become more intentional with your relationships. You stop explaining your boundaries to people who are committed to crossing them. You no longer need to be the loudest person in the room. You do not need constant validation. You do not need everyone to understand you. You simply know who you are, what you stand for, and what you will no longer accept. That quiet certainty is powerful because the woman who knows her worth does not need to announce it. She demonstrates it through the way she lives. Emotional maturity does not mean becoming a woman who never feels angry, hurt, disappointed, jealous, or overwhelmed. It means learning how to experience those emotions without allowing them to make every decision for you. A mature woman understands that feelings are real, but feelings are not always instructions. When someone says something hurtful, she may feel the anger immediately. But instead of reacting instantly, she creates a moment of space. She breathes. She observes what is happening inside her. She asks herself, am I responding to the situation or am I reacting from an old wound? That small pause can completely change the outcome. She understands that words spoken during intense emotions can create damage that apologies cannot always repair. So she does not rush to send the message, make the accusation, or start the argument. She gives herself enough time to become clear. This does not mean she stays silent when something is wrong. A mature woman can communicate her feelings directly. She can say, that behavior was not acceptable to me, without screaming. She can express disappointment without insulting someone. She can walk away without creating unnecessary drama. Her strength is not that she never gets triggered. Her strength is that she notices the trigger and chooses what happens next. She also understands that other people's emotions are not automatically her responsibility. Someone else's anger does not require her to become angry. Someone else's insecurity does not require her to prove herself. Someone else's attempt to create drama does not mean she has to participate. This is why emotional control creates such a powerful presence. A woman who can remain calm under pressure becomes difficult to manipulate. She cannot easily be pushed into saying things she does not mean or making decisions she will later regret. She learns to respond instead of react. And with practice, that response becomes natural. She begins to realize that peace is not weakness. Silence is not submission. Walking away is not defeat. Sometimes the strongest response is simply refusing to become the version of yourself that someone else is trying to provoke. She still feels deeply. She still loves deeply. She still cares. But she no longer gives every emotion permission to control her behavior. That is emotional maturity, asterisk feeling everything, while choosing wisely what you do with what you feel. A mature woman understands that having a relationship, receiving attention, or being loved by someone should never require her to abandon herself. She can deeply care about another person while still maintaining her own identity, goals, routines, friendships, interests, and dreams. She knows that love should add something meaningful to her life, not become the only thing that gives her life meaning. She does not wait for someone else to make her feel complete. She has learned how to enjoy her own company, spend time alone, and create happiness without constantly needing someone beside her. Being alone does not frighten her because she understands that solitude can be a place where she reconnects with herself. She continues working toward her goals even when nobody is watching. She invests in her knowledge, develops her skills, takes care of herself, and builds a life that reflects the woman she wants to become. Her confidence comes from knowing that she has a purpose beyond being admired or desired. This also changes how she behaves in relationships. She does not cancel her entire life whenever someone gives her attention. She does not abandon her friends, neglect her responsibilities, or stop pursuing her dreams just to keep another person interested. She understands that healthy love allows two individuals to grow together without one person disappearing inside the relationship. She also knows the difference between connection and dependence. Conking says, "I love having you in my life." Dependence says, "I cannot be okay without you." She chooses connection. That is why she does not desperately hold on to people who are clearly walking away. She can feel the pain of losing someone while still remembering who she is. She can miss someone without chasing them. She can love someone without losing her dignity. A woman with her own life also becomes more selective. Because she has purpose, she does not accept every invitation, every relationship, or every opportunity simply because she fears missing out. She asks whether something aligns with the life she is building. Her world is not centered around being chosen. She is busy choosing too. She chooses peace over unnecessary drama, growth over temporary comfort, purpose over constant validation, meaningful relationships over endless attention. And when a woman creates a fulfilling life for herself, her presence becomes naturally magnetic, not because she is pretending to be unavailable, not because she is playing games, but because she is genuinely fulfilled. She is not waiting for someone to complete her story. She is already writing it. A mature woman understands that not everything deserves her response. She has learned that constantly explaining herself, defending every decision, or trying to convince everyone to understand her can quietly drain her energy. Instead, she becomes intentional with her words. She listens before responding, thinks before speaking, and chooses her conversations carefully. She does not feel pressure to fill every silence. She understands that silence can sometimes communicate more than a long explanation. When someone misunderstands her intentionally, she does not spend hours trying to prove her intentions. When an argument becomes pointless, she knows when to step away. When gossip begins, she does not feel the need to participate just to feel included. Her silence is not a game, it is self-control. She also understands that speaking less does not mean becoming passive. A mature woman can communicate clearly and confidently when something matters. She can express her needs without demanding attention. She can disagree without becoming disrespectful. She can establish a boundary without turning it into a dramatic confrontation. The difference is that she does not speak from the need to win. She speaks from the desire to communicate. Before responding emotionally, she asks herself whether her words will improve the situation or simply release temporary frustration. That question can prevent countless unnecessary conflicts. She also becomes careful about what she shares with others. Not everyone needs access to her private struggles, future plans, relationships, or personal dreams. She understands that privacy is not secrecy. It is knowing that some parts of your life are sacred and do not need an audience. This creates a quiet sense of confidence. People begin to notice that she does not constantly seek approval. She does not interrupt just to be noticed. She does not tell everyone every detail of her life. She allows people to discover her gradually through genuine connection. And when she speaks, her words carry more meaning because they are not constantly competing for attention. She has learned that maturity is not about always having the last word. Sometimes maturity is knowing that the conversation is no longer worth having. Sometimes it is choosing a calm response instead of an emotional one. Sometimes it is simply saying, "I understand," and moving forward. She does not use silence to punish people, manipulate them, or make them chase her. She uses silence to protect her peace and give herself room to think. Her communication becomes calm, clear, and intentional. And that is powerful because a woman who does not need to constantly prove herself eventually becomes comfortable being misunderstood. She knows who she is, so she no longer needs everyone else to define her. A mature woman understands that personal growth begins when she stops waiting for everyone else to change and starts looking honestly at herself. This does not mean blaming herself for everything that has happened to her. It means recognizing that, regardless of what happened in the past, she has the power to decide what she does next. She asks herself difficult questions. Why do I keep accepting the same behavior? Why do I continue returning to situations that disturb my peace? What patterns keep appearing in my relationships? What am I afraid to let go of? What part of myself needs more attention? These questions are uncomfortable, but they create transformation. Instead of constantly saying, "They hurt me," she eventually begins asking, "What can I learn from this experience?" Instead of only focusing on who disappointed her, she considers whether she ignored warning signs, abandoned her boundaries, or stayed somewhere longer than she should have. She does not use self-reflection to attack herself. She uses it to become wiser. A high-value woman understands that mistakes do not make her worthless. Everyone makes poor decisions at some point. Everyone has moments of insecurity, impatience, fear, and confusion. Maturity comes from learning rather than repeating. She takes responsibility for the parts of her life she can control. If she wants better relationships, she works on communication. If she wants more confidence, she keeps promises to herself. If she wants more peace, she becomes more selective about what she allows into her life. She stops expecting motivation to appear before taking action. Instead, she develops discipline. Every time she says she will do something and follows through, she builds self-trust. Every time she chooses a long-term goal over temporary comfort, she becomes stronger. Every time she handles a difficult situation with greater wisdom than she did before, she recognizes her own growth. She also understands that healing and growth are not linear. Some days she will feel strong. Other days old emotions may return. That does not mean she has failed. It means she is human. The important thing is that she keeps moving forward. She becomes less interested in appearing perfect and more interested in becoming authentic, disciplined, emotionally aware, and responsible for her choices. She does not need to become someone else to be valuable. She simply continues removing the habits, beliefs, and behaviors that no longer belong to the woman she is becoming. And with every honest step forward, she develops something more powerful than external validation: self-trust. A mature woman understands that protecting her peace does not mean becoming cold, distant, or incapable of love. It means learning that her energy, attention, and emotional space are valuable. She can remain kind-hearted while becoming more selective about who receives access to her life. She no longer believes that being a good person means tolerating everything. She understands that kindness without boundaries can eventually become self-neglect. So when someone repeatedly disrespects her, manipulates her, or brings unnecessary chaos into her life, she does not feel obligated to keep giving them unlimited access. She can say, "This is not healthy for me," and step back. She does not need revenge. She does not need to expose someone. She does not need to make them regret losing her. She simply chooses peace. This is one of the greatest signs of emotional maturity, being able to walk away without needing to destroy what you once loved. A mature woman also understands that forgiveness and access are two different things. She can forgive someone internally and still decide that the relationship cannot continue in the same way. Forgiveness can release resentment, but boundaries protect her future. She also refuses to let one painful experience convince her that everyone is untrustworthy. She does not build permanent walls around her heart because one person hurt her. Instead, she becomes wiser about who she trusts and how quickly she gives that trust. She learns to watch actions rather than becoming hypnotized by promises. She pays attention to consistency. She notices whether someone's behavior matches their words, and she allows trust to develop naturally over time. Her heart remains soft, but her judgment becomes stronger. She understands that peace is not found by controlling everyone around her. It comes from controlling what she allows to remain close to her. Sometimes protecting your peace means leaving an argument. Sometimes it means ending a relationship. Sometimes it means creating distance from someone you still care about. And sometimes it simply means refusing to react to people who are trying to pull you into negativity. She realizes that not every battle deserves her energy. Not every opinion deserves an explanation. Not every person deserves access. This does not make her heartless. It makes her intentional. She becomes a woman who can love deeply without losing herself, forgive without forgetting wisdom, and remain compassionate without abandoning her boundaries. Her peace becomes more important than proving a point. Her emotional stability becomes more important than winning an argument. Her future becomes more important than holding on to what continually hurts her. And that is when she discovers something powerful. Asterisk, protecting your peace is not closing your heart. It is finally learning how to keep your heart safe while allowing the right people close.